Hello and welcome. My name is Martin Thomas. This is the introductory video for a series of videos entitled Eagles to Eagles, a Brit's Perspective on US Sports. The relevance of that title will become obvious in due course. I have a confession. I am a complete sports fanatic and I could get excited about fleas playing tiddlywinks. I used to be a cardiologist working in London. When I got to my 50s, I decided this was not as glamorous as was made out. Getting out of bed at 3 a.m. to fix someone's heart becomes exhausting as you grow older. So I decided to change my job and I moved to California to get a job with more sleep, and I was living just south of LA. When I got there, my first thought was, okay, how do I get to see the Premiership? After all, this is a love of my life. So, as you can see, I support Crystal Palace. But there was no BBC, there was no ITV, there was no Sky Sports. What am I to do? As it turned out, I needed NBC and Peacock. This, of course, cost another $9.99 per month. But you do get to see every Premiership game. Now, there is an 8-hour time difference between California and the UK. So if Palace were playing at 12 midday, well, I had to be up at 4 a.m. Even for the 3 o'clock kickoffs, it's a 7 a.m. start. But for Crystal Palace, not a problem. Then I decided, okay, what about US sports? The first sport I came across was American football. This is a slightly strange sport. 48 players come out onto the field at the beginning of the game. Only 11 are allowed on the pitch at any one time, but that seems like a hell of a lot of substitutes to me. Anyway, my wife is from Philadelphia, so I decided to support the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, it turned out in general that was a very good decision, and we'll come back to that in due course. But right now, the Eagles, and that's the second Eagle, Crystal Palace being the first Eagle, hence Eagles to Eagles. Anyway, the Philadelphia Eagles are undergoing a tough time. The last two games we've lost to Dallas, our arch enemies, and then to the Chicago Bears. Philadelphia supporters are very, very demanding, maybe even more than English supporters. And right now there's an awful lot of noise surrounding Nick Sirianni, our coach, Jalen Hurts, our quarterback, A.J. Brown, our wide receiver, but most of all, the offensive coordinator, and that is Kevin Patalou. How do I pronounce that? Kevin Patula. Anyway, Philadelphia fans want his head. The next thing is, so if you talk about football in the US, you are talking about American football. If you really want to talk about proper football, i.e. the Premiership, you have to use the word soccer. Now, why did we have to change the name? After all, we are the birthplace of football, and we did win the World Cup in 1966. That's not so long ago. Oh, okay, it's a hell of a long time ago, 40 years. This, as you can see, is Bobby Moore holding the World Cup in 1966. In 2026, the World Cup will be staged in the US, Canada, and Mexico. That's a bit strange in itself, and I'm sure is related to the dollar sign. Now, the English believe that England are going to win the World Cup. After all, it's our time. The English are incredibly demanding and optimistic. Now, we have already qualified. Through the qualifying stages, England won all their games and didn't even concede a goal. So that's a great start. Now, this is a Brit video, so I have to be level-handed. Scotland also qualified for the World Cup with a crazy last game against Denmark. In addition, Wales, the Republic of Ireland, and Northern Ireland have all qualified or are going to be in a playoff, actually. But we all know they're all going to qualify. So I thought, okay, what's the next sport to think about? And baseball came up. Now, this is a weird sport. It's played with a round bat and a round ball. Now, in my mind, that means if you're lucky enough to make contact between bat and ball, where the ball goes is completely at random. It's a strange mix between rounders, a game played by girls in the UK, generally at junior school, and is combined with the glorious cricket. Now, cricket is played with a flat bat and a round ball, and therefore the Brits believe that you can engineer where the ball goes from the bat. Top-level cricket is played over 5 days. Even at the end of that 5 days, the result can be a draw, i.e., nobody wins. On each of those 5 days, there is a break for lunch and tea. How terribly, terribly British and civilized is that? I must be honest, I'm not sure your average American sports follower would tolerate a sport which you play for 5 days and in the end nobody wins. Having said that, sometimes the 3 hours of a baseball game can seem like 5 days. How do you see cricket in the US? Well, that was a real struggle, but I finally found that you needed to see or get Willow TV. Guess what? That's another $9.99. So what can you expect from future videos? I thought I would discuss the results of various sports over the last few weeks, controversial moments and incidents. I'll mainly concentrate on US sport, but will drift into UK sport occasionally. After all, the Ashes has just started in Australia. This is the biggest sporting rivalry in cricket, England versus Australia. Now we've had a disastrous start. We lost the first test in Perth in only 2 days. But being the eternal optimist, we're clearly going to win the series played over 5 days. I will try and post every couple of weeks. So I will see you in a couple of weeks. And please, whichever sport you love, please support your team with passion. I will see you soon.